How did someone ruin their life in just a few short minutes? And what did they do? The bank robbery betrayal. A guy I went to high school with was expelled from his college ROTC program and moved back home. After some time living with his parents, his father stormed into his bedroom, berating him for being lazy and demanding he do something with his life. In a reckless decision, he grabbed a gun, reportedly unloaded, and set out to rob a bank. Astonishingly, he succeeded and escaped. For a while, he lived lavishly, having moved out of his parents' house, but then he confided in someone he trusted, who turned him into the police. He was arrested and sentenced to 20 years in prison, charged for every person present in the bank due to the threat of his gun. His life unraveled in the span of a single fateful choice. 2. A brother's descent into violence. My older brother, a father of 5 with a wife, spiraled into madness about 25 years ago. At our nephew's football game, another father struck up a conversation about football with my sister-in-law. My brother snapped. He punched the man, grabbed his wife by the hair, and dragged her to his truck. Witnesses later testified to this. When they got home, he stormed into the kitchen, pinned her against the refrigerator, and strangled her to death in front of their children, who also testified. Afterward, he loaded the kids into his truck, grabbed a rifle, and headed toward the city, planning to kill me, our father, his children, and then himself, to free them all from shame. Fortunately, he had made similar threats to others before, causing enough local chaos that day for police to intercept him. He served over 20 years in prison. I testified twice at his parole hearings to keep him behind bars, knowing he would likely reoffend. He was eventually released, but died 2 days later in a car accident. A lifetime of rage culminated in minutes that destroyed his family and his future. 3. Tragic dives into shallow waters. My cousin, while drunk, dove into the shallow end of a pool, leaving him paralyzed and his life forever altered. Similarly, my great-aunt, as a teenager, dove into a pool's shallow end and broke her neck. She too was paralyzed for most of her life, but lived into her 70s. Despite having a decent life, given the circumstances, she lost countless opportunities due to that split-second decision. 4. Jealousy's deadly toll. A childhood friend believed his wife was cheating with a co-worker. Consumed by paranoia, he went to the man's house, waited for him to return from work, and attacked him with a metal bar, leaving him with permanent brain damage. Then, he drove to abandoned buildings near the docks and took his own life. They had 1 child and another on the way. His wife wasn't cheating. His fears were unfounded, rooted in deep insecurities. In moments of irrational jealousy, he destroyed multiple lives. 5. A drunken crash and a life lost. A friend of mine, drunk and driving with 5 others, got into an altercation that ended in 1 passenger's death. Once a charming, handsome, and well-liked guy, he became a recluse, vilified by the community as a monster. Devastated by guilt, he took his own life about a year later. A single night of reckless decisions shattered his once bright future. 6. The Deadly Dare. A young Australian boy dared to eat a slug infected with a parasite, suffered a severe brain infection. He fell into a coma for a year, woke up paralyzed, and passed away in 2018 at just 19 years old. A momentary act of bravado led him to a tragic end. 7. A drunken climb gone wrong. My high school neighbor, living on the 3rd floor of an apartment building, got drunk at a party and forgot her keys. She decided to climb the fire escape to her balcony to sneak in. She fell, breaking her arm or wrist, leg, and injuring her back. I remember her mother knocking on our door the next morning, asking if we'd heard anything. She spent 3 years in a wheelchair, but was fortunate enough to recover, though the incident marked her life profoundly. 8. A game turned tragic. A guy from my high school was playing bottle rocket tag with friends when a rocket struck his eye, blinding him. A senior poised to attend college on a baseball scholarship. He lost everything in that fleeting moment of recklessness. 9. A drunken walk on the tracks. This is how my boyfriend died 14 years ago. He fell asleep drunk on a train heading home, woke up at the final station, and decided to walk home. A 20-minute journey, listening to music through headphones. Thinking it was the last train of the day, he walked along the tracks, a shorter route than the road. Tragically, another train came, and he didn't hear its siren. He was struck and killed, a preventable death caused by a drunken miscalculation. 10. A senseless murder. I'm a high school teacher in a rough area. 2 brothers in my class, a year apart, went out with friends one night near an elderly woman's trash collection site. She came out yelling at them. One of the kids in their group had a gun and shot her dead. All the boys involved received life sentences, their futures erased in a moment of senseless violence. 11. A cop's fall from grace. My former roommate, a sergeant in a suburban police unit, was caught viewing pornography, including images of Britney Spears, on his department computer. He was fired and could only find work as a security guard afterward. It's almost unbelievable, but a brief lapse in judgment cost him his career. 12. A fatal fall from a chair. The son of a friend, while gaming, leaned back in his chair, which slipped out from under him. Initially, it seemed he might be quadriplegic, but he developed respiratory issues and died 2 weeks later at just 18. A mundane accident ended a young life. 13. A soldier's downfall. A friend, 2 months from a medical discharge with a secure future and no need to work again, was arrested for drug distribution. The military discharged him without a pension, and he's now in prison. A series of poor decisions in a short time ruined what could have been a comfortable life. 14. Racing the train. For reasons I can't fathom, our small village's school bus driver often dropped his 2 sons off on one side of the train tracks, though they lived on the other. The older brother, 16, loved the thrill of beating the train by running across the tracks as it approached. You could hear the train's whistle, but buildings blocked the view until you were on the tracks. One day, as he dashed across, a second train came from the opposite direction on another track. His younger brother and the other kids on the bus watched as both trains struck him. It was horrific. 15. A deadly joyride. Some high school friends were riding in the back of a pickup truck driven by a 15-year-old. No alcohol was involved. But the young driver took a turn too fast, ejecting my friend from the truck bed into trees and a swamp. Everyone in the truck died, including my friend, in a tragic, avoidable accident. 16. A heroic sacrifice. Just a few months ago, my friend was outside a local bar known for its rough crowd, where his girlfriend worked as a bartender. It was Halloween, and a regular, drunk and dressed as Bill the Butcher, carried a real knife as part of his costume. After being ejected for brandishing it, he got into a scuffle with the bar owner. The drunk pulled a gun, started shooting, killed one person, and injured two others. My friend tackled him to stop further shooting, but was shot 3 times himself. Now quadriplegic, he didn't ruin his life, but heroically sacrificed much of it to save others. 17. Accessory to murder. My nephew, driving a borrowed truck, and a friend picked up another friend. This person shot the other passenger twice in the head, killing him. They dumped the body, returned the truck, still with blood and bullet holes, and went home. The next day, they returned to clean the truck and were arrested for murder. My nephew took a plea deal, testifying against the shooter, and served several years. Released but ostracized, he's stuck in South Dakota, labeled a murderer with no family support. 18. A predator exposed. My ex sent child pornography to himself via email, and his company immediately reported it to the police. He was arrested weeks later and is serving a 7-year sentence with lifelong sex offender registration. His life and the respect he once had crumbled in an instant. 19. A bike ride turned fatal. My best friend was testing his bike 200 meters from home after maintenance, not speeding. He swerved to avoid a mother and baby in a stroller crossing a pedestrian bridge with a blind spot. To miss them, he skidded off the bike, hit a pole, and cracked his skull. His brain was severely damaged. I stayed with him, his eyes flickering uncontrollably, his head in my hands, feeling like mashed potatoes. It took 30 minutes for an ambulance, which couldn't help, requiring a helicopter. He was in a coma for 2 weeks and died of pneumonia. My last words to him, when he was fully alert, were to wear a helmet. He said he'd be back in a minute or two. 20. A drunken standoff. My childhood neighbor grew up with alcoholism. Years later, I Googled him and learned he was serving a 98-year sentence without parole. Drunk, he assaulted his girlfriend and ended the night in an armed standoff with police, firing at them from his apartment window. Thankfully, he didn't kill anyone. We lost touch when we were 15. This happened at 33. Now 45, he'll die in prison. 21. A life consumed by addiction. A woman I knew threw away everything: husband, kids, job, friends, for the constant high of drugs. It seemed to happen overnight. She drained her husband's bank account and left. The last we heard, she overdosed and died a few years ago. We're still reeling, wondering why. 22. A gang initiation gone wrong. A childhood friend whose mother abandoned him to party and whose father was absent ended up with grandparents who didn't hold him accountable. By late high school, he joined a gang. As an initiation, he and other recruits took a former member to a remote area and beat him unconscious, leaving him for dead. Animals tore the man apart, and a local discovered the remains, leading to my friend's arrest. His life was derailed by a brutal act. 23. From argument to homelessness. She started using meth, and one night, an argument with her mother escalated. Her mother called the police, and her father kicked her out. She's been a homeless addict for the past 10 years. Her life upended by a single night. 24. A social media star's fall. Last year, a young influencer in my country, known for crass videos playing a spoiled rich kid, brutally attacked an elderly woman in a parking lot. The 8-second assault was caught on camera, went viral, and led to a 17-year prison sentence. Once adored, he's now universally reviled. 25. A teenage tragedy. The granddaughter of a local school official, raised by her grandparents after her mother's death, was 15 when she snuck out with 2 boys. Their car crashed, killing her and another passenger, neither wearing seat belts. The driver survived, but her young life ended in a moment. 26. An Olympian's downfall. My childhood best friend was on the US Olympic ski team. While training in Argentina, he contracted a parasite, lost weight, and spent years seeking a diagnosis and treatment, ending his skiing career. He began taking reckless risks, picking up 2 hitchhikers, and crashed, killing one, injuring the other, and hitting 15 cars, ruining lives. Years later, he robbed a bank, earning a 30-year sentence. I tried to help, but he couldn't help himself. 27. A motorcycle tragedy. My life was shattered in seconds. On March 25th, 2023, at 8:25 p.m., a woman named Tiffany, driving a Toyota Sienna with her family, turned left at Temple and Grand in downtown Los Angeles. My partner and I were riding south on Grand, going straight through a green light at about 40 mph on our motorcycle, with me on the back. She didn't see us. The collision killed her almost instantly and left me severely injured, with half my bones now titanium. 28. A scholar's catastrophic injury. A guy I knew, a top 1% academic in our state, a state-level football player with numerous awards, and a medical student on scholarship aiming to be a surgeon, was in his senior year when disaster struck. At a youth camp where he was a counselor, he participated in a human pyramid activity, positioned at the bottom. Someone misstepped. The pyramid collapsed, and a knee or foot landed on his spine. He's now in a vegetative state, his brilliant future erased in an instant. 29. A manager's murderous rampage. My former boss, a fast food restaurant manager where I worked in high school, was married with 2 stepdaughters, one in college, one in high school. One night, his wife confronted him at home, demanding a divorce. He shut off the circuit breaker, grabbed a kitchen knife, and stabbed her repeatedly. Her older daughter tried to intervene, and he stabbed her too, dozens of times for his wife, 6 or 7 for the daughter. The daughter survived. His wife died at the scene. Charged with first-degree murder and attempted murder, he claimed temporary insanity and a crime of passion. But the jury didn't buy it. He's serving life without parole. His appeals denied. 30. A fatal act of defiance. A woman named Ashley thought storming the Capitol as a domestic terrorist was a great idea. When confronted by Secret Service, instead of backing down, she climbed over a barricade and advanced toward them with a gun pointed at her. She was shot dead that day. Her life ended and ruined in a moment of reckless defiance. Defiance.